Hi all, there's another very dramatic encounter I'd like to show you from the Ultimate Blitz Challenge. So this was Hikaru Nakamura playing white against Fabiano Caruana, and it kicked off with c4, e6, knight c3, d5, so this goes into the Queen's Gambit declined. Now bishop e7, very popular to try and avoid the bishop g5 lines. Instead we have bishop f4, knight f6, e3, black castles, and this is quite popular actually, a3. So waiting for a moment, sometimes this can be very useful. For example, if black played c5, then sometimes taking an b4 could be handy sometimes. But we see from Caruana b6. Now with the bishop deciding to go here, and it's not going to come out on this diagonal, c takes d5 seems a little bit more logical and effective, because if black took with the pawn, then he'd be blocking that bishop on that diagonal. Black took with the knight, and now we have knight takes d5, and here e takes d5. White's bishop on d3 at the moment seems quite good here now, and if black really is going to b7, then this diagonal would seem a little bit dangerous. In fact, b6 is used now just to support c5, and this bishop is remaining there on c8 for the moment. It's not committing to this diagonal. Knight f3, knight c6, white castles. And now actually bishop e6, so the bishop's not going there at all, it'd be blocked anyway on that diagonal. Bishop e6, the thing is, could this be a target there on e6? Later at least. We see bishop b5. Now a very interesting idea is coming up here. After knight a5, d takes c5. Now if bishop takes c5, there's b4. But here, Nakamura plays b4 anyway as a pawn sack. It accomplishes a couple of things. It sets some practical difficulties. It creates a nice blockade square on d4 potentially, and also it creates some vulnerable pieces in black's position. If black wanted to take here. Actually, Caruana just counterattacked, but now queen a4, a6, and again this pawn sacrifice is on the cards here now. And here after c takes b4, it's just used positioning just to get that d4 square, but you can see that the queen is clinging onto the knight. This looks fairly unpleasant tactically. Things like rook b1 potentially useful. We see b3, rook a b1, queen c5, looking at a3. Now though, there's some compensation of course to get this light square bishop, weakening the light squares, and then pouncing queen d7, infiltrating with queen d7. That's protected. Now attacking with bishop e5. Black's under great pressure here. Rook d8, the queen comes back here. Rook f7, and now the queen comes for the attack over this side of the board. So very dynamic play from Nakamura. Knight c4 is played, hitting that bishop on e5. Bishop d4 hitting the queen moves. Queen h5 threatening h7. And creating a concession, because if g6 we have, bishop takes g6 will be crushing, because we have stuff like this. So we have h6 now, weakening the light square, so looks very dangerous, the queen coming into h7. And it's threatening mate in 2. If black does nothing, there'll be a mate in 2. For example, like this, would be embarrassing. So the bishop vacates the e7 square here, giving the king an escape plan. Now here, this looks technically like a mistake, but both players are down to about 20 seconds each, so you can't really say that. too seriously. In context, this is just a wild blitz game coming down to the final seconds now. But rook takes b3. The problem is bishop takes d4, fairly forcing, but it does open up this third rank potentially for the rook. Make a note of that. After e takes d4, this third rank is opened up. But there is knight d2 forking both rooks. Is this enough? What White's done? Was this deliberate? The thing is, in this position, after rook c3, we have knight takes f1. Black for the moment is the exchange up, but this looks dangerous. Check, and then bishop g6. But here is where black has an opportunity, it seems. Well, couple black is technically better, according to our engine friends. The best move for black would appear to be knight d2. And although white has this rook on the third rank, it's not too deadly here. For example, this can be defended with rook g8. And there's nothing concrete here, it seems, for white to do. Not even pick up the knight, which is a loose piece. There's not even queen g5, the pawn stopping that. So the knight d2 seems to be the killer move, but it wasn't played. What was played was Caruana actually exploited the knight in a different way. Queen takes h2. Okay, but this is very dangerous now. Black's best, even in this position, I think this is quite dangerous. Black might have had better around about here with a move like rook b8 with the idea of checking, but he didn't play that. This is now a total disaster move. Black to play and lose. In fact, can you spot Caruana's move? Yeah, someone asked me on stream about that. So I'm always asking the best move, but here, one of the worst moves on the board was play. He only had 12 seconds, though, to be fair. This is just a mad blitz game. Black to play. So what did Caruana do, and why was it so terrible? If I give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, one of the worst moves on the board. Queen f4. Maybe the idea was an immediate rook f3. There's queen c1. Maybe that's the idea, to point at c1. But the thing is, what does white play here instead? Not allowing this check. Can you see what white can play if I give you 5 seconds? Okay, I hope you guessed it. Bishop takes f7. Yeah, all of a sudden, this is really powerful. Rook f3 now. White's a bishop up if black doesn't recapture. And if rook b8, you know, there's check on g8. This is hopeless to leave the bishop there. We'll be picking up that rook, or even worse, if that's possible. Probably not. So bishop takes f7. Yeah, we have king takes, just going into this pin. And that's it. That's it. Pretty dramatic stuff. But, you know, the creative ideas here, the positional pawn sacrifice for b4 to get the, you know, the d4 square, to weaken black on the light squares, the infiltration, pointing the bishop to the king, the queen switching around. This is all very creative, imaginative stuff. Nakamura technically went wrong somewhere, but that's what you can expect from blitz games, really. But yeah, Caruana had a chance there. If he found the engine move knight e2, it was covering, sorry, knight d2, it was covering the f3 squares. This upside for white wouldn't have been so amplified like in the game with this rook coming along that third rank when e takes d4 was happened. But knight d2 was able to, black would have been the exchange up. Yeah, but yep, these are human versus human games, so it's a lot of fun. The blunders make for the fun and the excitement of these games, and we're all human. So that shows even the super GMs can, you know, just because they're exchanged up, especially in blitz, it doesn't really sometimes mean that much. Okay, so comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.